Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
If all illegal drugs became legal to purchase and consume, which drug would you try? DMT. I like to compare that experience to drop rides at amusement parks. It's short, but it will completely overwhelm you during the ride. I've done it once and broke through. As they say, 5 years later and I'm still not sure what the hell happened. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But just be ready. Shit's insane. I remember seeing colors and shapes that don't exist. It was like seeing shit in the fourth dimension and my brain could understand it. Awesomely mind-blowing. On DMT I thought to myself, could I just become a dolphin? And right away I was swimming in a pack of dolphins. Looking around at the others, and I knew one dolphin was my girlfriend dolphin. It felt as real as normal. Everyday life does. Was I supposed to wait? Back when I worked at Target, my coworkers were like, when I'm really old I'm going to try XYZ. Fuck it, and your comment perfectly describes my thought process to that. Reminds me of high school. The senior valedictorian for my junior year was this girl that probably had greater than 4.2 GPA. Super sweet and goody two shoes. Probably never jaywalked. The week before graduation, she got up in the middle of AP Physics. Blurted, "I'm not learning anything here." And left. Solely so she could experience getting detention. Then again she chose which Ivy League university she attended by which dorm had the best food. Anything that puts me to sleep instead of being stuck with daydreams in bed. Be careful. There are 2 kinds of sleep aids. 1. Habit forming. 2. Habit forming. But they say non-habit forming on them. Sleep is super important. So becoming reliant on anything, especially a drug, is pretty dangerous. Many sleep aids can adversely affect the quality of your sleep long term. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. And I imagine some of them are not that bad. Just be careful. I was given diazepam to help me sleep. That stuff is crazy dangerous. 1 pill stopped working. 2 stopped working. Etc. It's a downward spiral from there. I don't understand why people are prescribed diazepam to help sleep, as it's an anxiolytic and not a sleep drug. I have a long-term prescription, 3 years, as I had severe PTSD and I have never needed to increase the dose. I have decreased it to almost nothing over years as I dealt with the underlying issue. Take it once in a blue moon now. 2 milligrams. It isn't dangerous if prescribed correctly and monitored. Absolutely no judgment to anyone taking more pills, by the way, as I have done similar in the past with wrongly prescribed drugs. I've been really idiotic. Inevitable. I just find it odd when something like temazepam is a more effective sleep drug in dire situations. Or zopiclone. Why do docs do this? I would try heroin when I'm close to the end, where if it kills me it's no great loss. I've always wanted to know what is so good about it that it makes otherwise rational people sail their ship straight into the rocks. It's not that it's so good. Which I mean, it is literally like a constant orgasm. But once you become physically addicted, your brain literally puts the obtainment of the drug before everything else in your mind. So even though you know that your mom will be hurt and kick you out if you steal another $300 from her, and you don't want those things to happen, your brain has physiologically prioritized the heroin to all of that because it can't produce its own endorphins anymore. Your brain has categorized heroin as important as water in your automatic mind. Most of that insane dependence stems from people not wanting to experience the incredibly bad withdrawals. Plenty of people who are addicted don't get that high anymore. They just used to not get the withdrawals. It's a terrible drug. If pot was completely legal, and employers no longer tested for it for pre-employment, I'd try that in a heartbeat. Just wait until you've done a drug test and then try it. They won't do it 2 weeks in a row. Unless they really want an excuse to fire someone. Edit. It seems like there's a lot of variation between the way different companies handle this. So please don't risk your job. Unless you work somewhere with actual random drug tests. I've worked in the army and government where they had random ones. I've seen the same people get pulled month after month, good employees and bad, while I got tested one time in 2 years. Mushrooms in a clinical setting to get myself off cigarettes. Over 85% chance to quit smoking using psychedelics as a treatment. But it's illegal because... who knows why? I hope they become legal soon. Microdosing is amazing and has helped with my depression and anxiety so much. But it's so hard to get it right and have accidentally ate too much, and I didn't enjoy that. I want to be able to know exactly what I'm getting every single time. Peyote. It is already legal in Arizona. There is a whole church around it called Peyote Way Church of God. I'd still just smoke weed. In my 40s, I've tried a lot of stuff in my earlier years. I've balked at some like H. When a couple of my flatmates had a 2-week dalliance with chasing the dragon, which luckily ended after another friend had his arm broken by a skag head over a bum deal. And frankly, I'd rather have a spliff and a nice beer or single malt with some mates and have a nice chat or watch a movie than spending a couple of hours watching the wallpaper move. Done. Or dancing for 6 hours in a warehouse while thinking everyone is the greatest person in the world. Done. Or staying awake for 28 hours straight playing Mortal Kombat. Done, etc. Well said. I'm in my mid-20s and at this point I've tried everything I want to. Everything but the hard shit. Meth. Crack. Even now when I do cocaine my body and brain are fucked for 2 days minimum. At this point it's solely booze and weed, and a moderate amount at that. There's a reason weed and booze have been popular since humans could think. Ayahuasca. It's the only drug I want to do that I haven't been able to try yet. I did mescaline in Peru. Ayahuasca was an option too. But from what people told me, it sounded like it would be a horrible experience. Mescaline is the light and ayahuasca is the dark. I'll stick to the light. And also, not shitting my pants and vomiting. Honestly, none of them. Not because I'm not curious. But because I know I have an addictive personality. I've struggled with online gambling sites. I managed to cut myself off before it became an actual problem. And I still struggle with food addiction. I know I'd start just to try and then end up with a real problem. Edit. Holy moly, this got big overnight. I just want to add a couple of things to answer some of the more commonly brought up points. Firstly, I never said all drugs are addictive. Just that I have an addictive personality and would become so. I can get addicted to anything, a hobby, a new habit, etc., and would likely get addicted to the way the drug made me feel rather than the substance itself. Secondly, psychedelics are one I would never touch, and it has nothing to do with addiction. I have schizophrenia, diagnosed and kept well under control now, and I don't think taking anything designed for causing tripping or hallucinations is a good idea given that issue. Thanks everyone for their points of view. Whether I agree or not. And for the couple of awards. I stand by my decision that I'd never try any kind of drugs. Regardless of legality, because of my own personality flaws towards addictive behavior. But I don't judge anyone who does. I've tried pretty much everything I want to try. But I would choose cocaine any day. Nothing quite like it. But I don't want to go back there. Yeah. The exact same for me. In fact, this quarantine couldn't have come at a better time for me. I was struggling a lot with quitting. It has a way to pull you in unlike any other drug I've tried. Sucks. I assume you haven't used meth. If you haven't, don't. Meth is about 1,000,000 times worse than cocaine from the standpoint of addictiveness. I haven't touched the stuff in 2 years and I still have dreams about it a couple times a month. That drug called love. Hey man, if that drug called love is currently illegal for you, then something's either really fucked up about the country you're living in or something's really fucked up about you. I'd just grow a poppy field and a bunch of weed. Be boolin' for the rest of my days. Technically poppies aren't illegal to grow. It's only when you grow enough for intent to produce, distribute. You can grow a couple poppies and harvest the opium from them. The year before last I grew around 20 of them and they only produced enough opium for a few hits and a head change. Opium isn't that potent, yes. I know different varieties exist and some have a stronger morphine percent. What's the safest psychedelic? Shrooms? I'd totally be on board for trying an actual trip. But also I'm not willing to take on much risk, physical or legal, to do it. So, here I sit, having only ever smoked pot. And only did that twice with no results that I noticed. Is it possible that you didn't breathe into your lungs correctly? If you just breathed into your mouth, you're not going to get any effects. Also, LSD and shrooms are rather similar in their effects. The other guy who commented doesn't know what he's talking about. In my opinion, shrooms impact your emotions more and give you more of a body high than acid. However, the visuals were similar and they didn't just make everything a bit wavy. I find psychedelics to be very synesthetic and music heavily impacts the color, speed of movement of visuals, and my emotions. Generally, it's incredibly relaxing and enjoyable to me. Hallucinogenics. Recent studies have shown that they help much better than regular traditional medications with depression and anxiety. They last for a longer time than traditional medicines as well. Speaking from extensive experience, they can most certainly have that effect. I have gone from the very brink of suicide to being consistently happy and essentially imperturbable. And I no longer need to do any sort of dosing to remain in that peaceful state. Meditating and studying the world's non-dual wisdom traditions have been vitally necessary parts of finding my way to stability without the need for further medication. However, my experiences with psychedelics are what cracked those doors open widely enough to poke my head through in the first place. Never had any interest in the feel-good or party drugs, but would probably give something hallucinogenic a go if I could get it in a way which didn't sketch me out. Good way to think, and if it was legal I'm sure it wouldn't sketch you out as much. Especially how you can find naturally growing shrooms throughout the world, which isn't near as sketchy as something being made on the street or in a lab. I'd be so fucked. I seriously love opioids, which is why I stay far away from any temptations. Same, recovering heroin addict. No desire to go back to that time in my life. But if I were in a weak moment I don't know if I could resist the temptation if they were over the counter. The legality of drugs never has or will affect my decision on what drugs to take. This is why the war on drugs is stupid. If you're going to do heroin, you're going to do heroin. It being legal or not has nothing to do with it. In fact, it is highly likely you first did legal heroin in the form of prescription pills in the first place. So for the first part, yes, can confirm, did heroin, did rehab, 0/10. As far as legal heroin, that's a very misleading way of putting it. Kinda like saying that Adderall is legal meth. There are a variety of ways your body reacts to different opiates, not to mention the various and unmeasured strength of each and every batch of street heroin, as well as harmful additives used to cut it. Pharmaceuticals are safer in almost every way just because they are a known quantity. This legal insert drug here business is just the way lazy journalists like to demonize whatever they are writing about. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.